everybody. Welcome to my creative writing channel where I use critical analysis to help you tell your story. And today I wanted to talk about one of the rules that I use for writing, not necessarily creative writing, but more like professional things that I've done in the past. I used a subset of the English language known as E prime. And I first heard about it in a lecture from Robert Anton Wilson, of all people, but evidently it was developed in the 90s. I'm going to leave a link in the description box for the Wikipedia page where you can find the more formal references regarding it. And it basically just does not use any forms of the verb to be. And in this way, it forces us to engage in active language and active verbs. It forces us to leave the passive voice behind. Well, in a way, I guess there are still ways that we could engage in passivity in writing, but one way to eliminate that, which is not good writing, but one way to eliminate passivity in the writing process is by using E prime. And so I found a piece of a lecture from Krishnamurti that I wanted to read. So as an example of how when you have the verb is in your story or your writing, that that is weak. And so the rule really used to be for me 3 forms of the verb to be on any page. Any more than that, and you're really pushing the limits of like what will keep a reader or a listener engaged. But I finally got to where I won't use it at all on anything that I would formally submit. So he starts with, he's talking about etymology actually, and he says, and you can't find any truth without passion. That word passion is derived from the Latin word for suffering, which again derives from Greek, and so on. From this suffering, the whole of Christendom worships sorrow, not passion, and they have given passion a special significance. He goes on to say that passion is a frightening thing. And so what I wanted to look at were all of the possibilities for how we could, if we were going to put that in a story, that passion is a frightening thing, and it is. But what is a stronger way that we could say that? And for that to be a reality of all human beings, we could say that passion frightens us. So that would be, it's probably the best way that I could imagine, because we're not adding any more language to what we're trying to say. It is clear cut, it is simple. And then the verb frightens is, it's much more, as a word, frightens is much more powerful than frightening. As an adjective, frightening is very effective as a descriptor, but when you are trying to make an impression upon someone, a lasting impression upon someone through either your storytelling or your writing, when you use the verb frightens, that is going to elicit a visceral response, especially if it is something like how frightening passion is, that all human beings can relate to. And that is just a reality that he goes on to say that, it's frightening because when we give ourselves over to passion, we don't really know like where it will take us. And that brings me to the next poem that we're going to look at, which is, well, in the next video, we're going to look at Alexander Pope's Know Then Thyself, which is going to get us into all of the themes of the Enlightenment. And that would be a good place to start for engaging in this concept of E prime. And it's just a matter of an exercise of free will that you can either use forms of the verb to be, which of course in our everyday language would just be awkward not to. But when you're writing and storytelling, we can limit that as much as possible, as much as we are willing to focus our free will on like substituting, like what is it that we're really trying to say, instead of some form of existing that we're like trying to reference, on some abstract level. There are a lot of ways that we could be more specific, and in that way leave more of a lasting impression. So this is just an introduction to something that I use personally to make writing more effective, more memorable, stronger. The word choice will often yield a stronger result. So I hope that at least this has gotten you started about thinking, if you haven't heard of it before, that there's something else for you to research, and leave your comments about how your feelings. A lot of people don't like it, but anyway, I hope that you found something useful in today's talk, and thank you for listening.